Look, I say at the top of the show, it's not about friends, okay? It's about making money. How about if there's a guy you really like who makes you a lot of money? How about a guy who has explained to you, as someone has explained to me, the way the world of energy works? Someone who is ambitious, who puts his money where his mouth is, and has now an agenda that we on Mad Money totally agree with. I am talking about the great Aubrey McClendon, President and CEO of Chesapeake Energy, whom I have to tell you, I am proud to have on the show because he gets it and has made so much money for you that I welcome him to the show. Aubrey, how you been?
Hey, Jimbo, big Oklahoma booyah to you.
Is there a better kind? I question whether there's a better kind. All right, now, we got Aubrey McClendon, the guy who's made us money. Every time he's bought stock, we've recommended making stock. The record is clear. And the last one, the jury's not out yet, but I'm confident it will be. I want to welcome Aubrey McClendon, the statesman. Tell me what you've been up to in Washington.
Hey, Jim, I was in Washington this week having conversations with congressional leaders about energy policy, basically talking about how we can begin to move our transportation network away from expensive, dirty, imported oil to clean, affordable, abundant American natural gas. And if we can do that, we can bring $2 gasoline back to the American people. We can improve the environment. We can strengthen the dollar, enhance national security, and create jobs right here at home.
A few years ago, then Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, had a series of hearings about there was a great shortage developing in natural gas. Did that turn out to be the case?
Well, it didn't, although this conversation that I've embarked on in Washington, I couldn't have had 3 or 4 years ago. And the reason for that is these technological breakthroughs we've had in accessing gas from all these shale formations like the Barnett and the Haynesville. And honestly, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I didn't understand the promise of these. Very few people did. Today, they're game changers. They absolutely allow this country to address its energy issues and environmental issues with a clean slate of paper. And rather than thinking about those issues with the idea of natural gas scarcity in your mind, you can now think about them with the natural gas abundance in your mind.
Why is it that there is not a single national politician running for president, now including the previous Hillary Clinton, who has, she was at the Marcellus Shale, and she had no idea where she was standing, that she was standing under a national treasure. Why is it that politicians embrace ethanol, which I think you would agree with me is not necessarily all that efficient, and no one has championed your cleaner fuel that would take us away from, even today we're up a couple bucks because of Iran saber rattling? Why are no politicians endorsing and embracing your view?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I think they are beginning to. Secondly, I would say paradigm shifts are very hard to recognize until they're already past us. And I think this notion that we have plenty of natural gas is an unusual message. It's not one that people have heard for the past 10 years or so. And so as they're beginning to hear it, they're also beginning to see it reflected a little bit in natural gas prices, as you know, down from 13 to 9 or so. I would also say that politicians in other countries get it. A third of Argentina's cars run on natural gas. A quarter of Italy's cars do. So we're going to get there, but I will assure you that the candidate that stands up and says this to the American people, which is during my 8 years in office, and you will reelect me because of what I'm about to tell you, I have a plan that will reduce your energy cost by half. It will allow you to burn a fuel that's made in America, and it's 2/3 cleaner. And and tell me what consumer out there says, "Oh, I don't want any of that."
All right, before we drill down to your
politician.
Right, before we drill down to your company, why is it that the outer continental shelf is a battle? Why are we battling over that when you yourself probably have enough under Chesapeake's leases to find much more natural gas than on either coast? Wouldn't you say?
I'd rather the access issue not be so divisive. It certainly is, because it involves Republicans and Democrats. I just say, look, I'm for all things American, but at the end of the day, the outer continental shelf is not going to be something that moves the needle for 10 or 15 years. What we have today in America, which is plenty of gas from shales, can move the needle right now and can immediately start saving people in this country money and can immediately start improving our environment.
All right, let's talk about Chesapeake and what we have and what we found. What have you been buying lately? Where are you in the shales? And just give us a depiction of how Chesapeake has probably accumulated more than anyone else during this period.
Well, thanks, Jim. As you know, one of the things I do is I buy Chesapeake stock, so that's what I've been buying. But what the company has been buying is leasehold, and today we have about 15 million acres of land under lease in the U.S. That's the largest amount that anybody has. We have a backlog of 34,000 drilling locations. This quarter, we became the nation's #1 gas producer. We were already the #1 most active driller. We're focused in these gas manufacturing plays like the Barnett, the Haynesville, the Fayetteville, the Marcellus, where we can continue to drive down our costs, improve our efficiencies, and make a lot of shareholder value by increasing our proved reserves, while at the same time creating value for American consumers by keeping gas prices lower than they might otherwise be.
Right. Aubrey, one of the things, I was on the Today Show today, and I was talking to Meredith Vieira, and she was talking about Exxon and how they're making so much money. Could you, for our viewers, contrast Chesapeake with Exxon?
Sure. Exxon is a major integrated company that's about 20 times our size. They are, been around for over 100 years. They take on projects offshore, internationally, that we don't have the talent, we don't have the time, we don't have the capital to do. So in my view, Exxon is doing what Exxon ought to be doing. The problem is they're doing it in a world that's closing in on them. National governments, national oil companies are taking lands away from traditional areas where Exxon would have worked. What we do, we're called an independent natural gas producer. All we do is look for and produce natural gas in the U.S., and we'll spend about $10 billion this year. So even though Exxon's 20 times bigger than us, they'll only spend 3 times as much money as we will looking for new reserves. And, of course, they really won't spend that much here in the U.S. So it's our industry, the independent natural gas producers, that are the champions of the domestic natural gas industry.
Because you're one of my favorite guests. I've gone over too long. I have one more question to ask you. Have you bought any Chesapeake lately, even though natural gas has plummeted from 13 to 9 because it's so abundant?
Jim, I can't. We just announced earnings today, so I've been in a lockout. So when the next opportunity comes, I'm sure I'll get that chance.
All right. Thank you so much, Aubrey McClendon, President and CEO of Chesapeake Energy. Great to see you. Keep the cause up. Keep it burning. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Okay, listen, everybody. You heard it. This is why it's natural gas's year. We get a couple politicians behind it. We get energy independence, okay? We get much cleaner skies. That's the Clean Sky Initiative. And we all make a lot of money. Hey, what's wrong with that? Stick with Cramer.